So now, even though this is gram positive, it is now resistant to penicillin. So do you understand why I said even though like all gram negative organisms are resistant to penicillin? Why?
Because they have the beta-lactamase enzyme.
Where do they have that beta-lactamase?
In the periplasmic space.
In the periplasm, because it's the part of the structure itself.
Yes.
And some of the gram-positive organisms are also resistant to penicillin.
Penicillin, right.
Because how do they get this resistance? Is it a part of the structure itself with gram-positive? No, they got this beta-lactamase via antibiotic resistant transfer.
From the gram-negative.
Right. So historically speaking, I'll give you some example of gram-positive organisms like the Staphylococcus, Streptococcus. The Staphylococcus causes wound infection. Like in surgery ward, if you go, if people have wound, they have pus all over, yellowish thing, right? Yes. It's mostly caused by the Staphylococcus bacteria. And the Streptococcus bacteria causes what? Sore throat, tonsillitis, tonsillitis, sore throat, pharyngitis. All of it is caused by the Streptococcus organism. Both of the Staphylococcus and Streptococcus organisms are gram
positive,
right? So back in the day, like in 1900s, right? When was penicillin discovered? 1920s, 30? I don't know, right? Back in the day, okay, in 1950s, 1940s, right? All these Staphylococcus and Streptococcus were sensitive to penicillin, right? Because they were gram positive,
yes,
right? But slowly, right, as the time progresses, all these gram negative organisms started communicating with this gram positive organisms, right? And then they started giving their genes for resistance to the Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. Nowadays, if you go to our hospital and then if you take the sample of throat swab, if you want to treat a sore throat, right,
yes,
in a patient with penicillin, because we know that sore throat is mostly caused by this Streptococcus, which is gram positive, right?
Yes.
Patients don't respond at all. Penicillin does not work at all because most of the Staphylococcus and Streptococcus in our hospital, they have become already resistant to penicillin. And that's scary.
Yes, it is scary.
Yeah, right?
Right.
So these days, as time progresses, so with time, more and more bacteria are transferring their genes for resistance to each other. One bacteria is transferring these genes to another. So I'm only talking about penicillin, right? So this gram-negative bacteria transport gene for penicillin, but this might also have gene for resistance of aminoglycoside or ciprofloxacin, other antibiotics, right? So this single bacteria can get genes from so many bacteria, right? And then this big bacteria becomes something called a superbug, okay, or super bacteria, right? Superbug or super bacteria is a bacteria that is resistant to so many antibiotics. And is this bacteria very, very dangerous?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So with this you understood what is gram positive, what is gram negative, right? Structure of this, importance of the structure of all these things, right? And you also understood the mechanism of action of penicillin, right? How, and the mechanism of importance and mechanism of antimicrobial resistance, right? So this is one of the huge problems in today's world. Like all, and then another thing that increases the scope or the scale of this problem is, we only have fixed number of antibiotics, right? First antibiotic that was discovered was
Penicillin,
right?
Penicillin has to be changed,
right? Penicillin, right? That was discovered in, I don't know, 1930s or something. I might be wrong, around that time, right? Okay. What is the date today? 2024, right? So from discovery of penicillin, there have been, I don't know, maximum of 20 new antibiotics found. So in span of almost 100 years, we have only been able to produce 20 new antibiotics, right? So do we have thousands of antibiotics?
No.
We only have 20. So if one bacteria got resistant to all the 20 antibiotics, then what will you do? You can't do anything. Then if a person gets infected with even sore throat, and that and that bacteria is now resistant to all these 20 antibiotics, then you just pray to God. Because there's nothing you can do. The bacteria was spread from sore throat to the nasopharynx, to the pharynx, to the lungs, and pneumonia. Then it goes to the blood, bacteremia. Then you get septic shock, and the patient dies. Is that dangerous?
Yes, it is.
Right? That's why, like countries like That's why like countries like America and other developed countries and even developing countries are spending like millions and billions and trillions of dollars to prevent this thing happening, right? So that makes sense. So we only have fixed number of antibiotics, and by the day bacteria are becoming resistant to one by one so many different antibiotics, right? So that is why we need to use antibiotics very very carefully, right? So one question that I want you guys to understand, I'm just teaching you practical stuff because this is what you should understand in microbiology, okay? So for example, if you had a sore throat, okay, tonsillitis, and a doctor give you a tablet, penicillin tablet, okay, right, and then you took like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 tablets, and then you got better, your tonsillitis got better, and you didn't take 1 2 3 4 tablets, right? Right, is it a good thing, or you should complete the, so if you took 8 tablets and then your tonsillitis got better, are you going to take the remaining 4, or you're not going to take the remaining 4 tablets of penicillin?
I will take the remaining 4 also.
Then you have to give an explanation reason why.
Because if I know that if the sore throat will completely cured,
Yeah.
and if I will miss the 4 tablets,
It might reoccur.
Yes, it might be reoccurred because the some bacteria are remain still there,
Yes.
and they will multiply,
Yeah.
and then again it will cause the infection back.
Yeah.
Not exactly after 4 to 5 days, but it will take 10 to 15 days.
Even though you feel fine, you don't have sore throat, you will complete the 4 tablets because you are scared that some bacteria might be remaining, they might grow again and come back, right? That is the actual good way of thinking, right? But what do most like uneducated people do, right? If a CNG driver gets a sore throat and then you give like 14 days of penicillin, he will take penicillin for, not everyone, but generally speaking, he might take penicillin for 8 days, and then when he feels good, he's not going to take the 4 days,
If it is cured.
4 like 6 days remaining, right?
I might think that the remaining one antibiotics that I will have, it may affect my body.
Yeah, that's what
And-
they think, right?
Yeah, and why will I eat the extra? I can save that for next infection.
Yeah, right, that's what
I can
they
save
think.
the money from that.
Yeah, that's what they think, but that is actually not the correct way of thinking. That causes a lot of problem. So one problem, this is actually practical thing that doctors need to educate their patient. Once when you become a doctor and you give antibiotic, you have to explain this to your patient very properly. This is also a part. Is it only fault of the patient? No, it's fault of the doctor as well, because if the doctor didn't explain why he should complete it, then obviously the patient is not going to complete it, right? So one of the problems that happens if you don't complete is the thing that he said, right? First thing is there might be reoccurrence. The bacteria might grow again, because if you don't kill all the bacteria, some bacteria will.
Bacteria will stay on.
The second more dangerous thing is the second time the same bacteria grows, it is now going to be resistant to penicillin. Does that make sense?
Yes, might be there.
This second time, if the bacteria, the remaining bacteria grows and causes the same bacteria causes the thing, it will be resistant to penicillin. You know why this happens? For example, did you get it? Like when you don't complete your prescription, when you stop it at 8 days, then after 5 or 6 days, the sore throat or the tonsillitis will come again, right?
Right. Okay.
And then again, if you want, you want to think now the tonsillitis came again, I'll take the penicillin again, it will go back. Now it will not go back. Penicillin does not work the second time. Now you have to take another more dangerous drug, not dangerous, as more expensive or side effect drug, right? So now second time the same bacteria causes the same infection, it is now resistant to penicillin. Why does this happen? Okay, this happens due to a concept called selective pressure. Okay, that is basically, for example, these where you had like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 bacteria in your throat, right? You had 9 bacteria in your throat. So when you took this penicillin for like 8 days, right, this penicillin came and killed 1 2 3 4 5 6, like it killed like 7 bacteria, right?
Okay.
So in 8 days after you took penicillin for 8 days, how many bacteria are remaining? If you have 9 bacteria and the penicillin in 8 days kills 7 bacteria,
2 bacteria.
you have 2 bacteria remaining.
Yes.
But then when you have 2 bacteria remaining, you don't have sore throat because there's so few bacteria remaining, right?
Yes.
So when you only have 2 bacteria remaining, you will feel good.
Good.
The symptoms will go, but the bacteria is still there.
Okay.
So you stopped it. Now, these 2 bacteria, right? They have been exposed to penicillin for how many days? 8 days.
8 days.
Right. So if you know an enemy very nicely, right, then you actually can defeat it, right? If you don't know what is the enemy, then you can't defeat it, right? Right. So in the first case, all of these 9 bacteria had never seen penicillin before in their life, right?
Okay.
That is why when you gave penicillin, it was able to kill all of them. Now these 2 bacteria, have they seen penicillin for 8 days? They have been exposed to penicillin for 8 days. So they have already known penicillin, right? So whenever this bacteria, penicillin is toxic to the bacteria, right? Penicillin kills the bacteria, but these 2 bacteria have been surrounded by penicillin for 8 days.
8 days.
Right. So when the bacteria is surrounded by a penicillin or something that is trying to kill it, the bacteria tries to overcome that, tries to protect itself. So in those 8 days in which these 2 bacteria were exposed to penicillin, but they did not die because of penicillin. Listen to what I'm saying. These 2 bacteria had been exposed to penicillin, but the penicillin did not kill them. So these bacteria were surrounded by penicillin but did not die. So due to these bacteria, since they have time to interact with penicillin, they can develop genes for penicillin resistance.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because like human beings, we want to protect ourselves, right?
Yes.
But similarly, these 2 bacteria, since it is surrounded by enemy, penicillin, right? In this 8 days time, it has devised a plan or made a plan that is a gene to protect itself from penicillin. Now, after 8 days, these bacteria now have a gene. They made a gene. Because its gene is, the production of this gene or formation of resistance is like a protective mechanism for the bacteria. Right? Now, after 8 days, you stop the drug. Now you don't take penicillin. When you don't take penicillin, what happens? Now this 2 becomes slowly 4. 4 becomes 8. 8 becomes 16. 32. And then something 1,000 millions of bacteria. Then you again get sore throat. Right. Now, but all of these bacteria, these 32 million bacteria, let's say, that all of these bacteria came from these very 2 bacteria. Because these 2 became 4, 3. And all of these, each one of these 32 million bacteria also have the same gene for penicillin resistance. Now, the second time when the sore throat reoccurs in this CNG driver, and he takes a penicillin tablet thinking that it worked for the first time, it's also going to work the second time. Is it going to work for the second time? Now, so in order to, because I don't know, it could be because he was too lazy or because he didn't know, or in order to save money for the antibiotics for the remaining 4 days, right? It might cost, I don't know, 200 taka, right? Or 60, 70 taka, right? In order to save, because like 70 taka might be a really, like it's a big amount for like someone like a CNG driver, right? Or a rickshaw puller, right? Yes. In order to save that money, he didn't complete the course of his antibiotic. But now look what happened. He again got the same infection, and then the second time he got the infection. The cheap drug that would have been useful, now it's not useful. Now he will go to the doctor again, and then the doctor will look at it, and now he's saying that penicillin is not working. Then he's going to give him another drug called cephalosporin, which is significantly more expensive. Right? So that is the importance of learning what antimicrobial resistance is. Right? So if you become a doctor, and then when you prescribe this drug to a patient, for example, say I'm a patient. Okay, I came to you with a sore throat, tonsillitis, right? And you had to prescribe me penicillin for 7 days. What would be the advice that you will give me? What will you tell me so that this thing does not happen? You will ask me to.
I will tell you that to complete the whole course.
You will ask me to complete the whole course. Even though when I might feel better after 5 days, you will ask me to take the drug for complete 7 days. You will tell, even though you might feel better after 5 days, you have to finish the dose of the drug till 7 days, right? And if the patient, like doctors, what we do is we don't have time for patients, right?
Yes.
We have to make a lot of money, right? So if you give like 15 minutes or 20 minutes to one patient, then you can only see so many patients, right? If you want to see patients in 3 to 5 minutes, right? So your patient, like if a good doctor will say, if the patient might ask, why do I have to? Most patients will never ask, why do I have to do it? Right? Because they're scared. Like if a CNG driver comes to you, you are in a position of power, right? Doctor has authority, right? So he will basically not going to ask. But if he's an educated person, he might ask, why do I have to take even though I feel better? So can you explain this to that patient properly? It might take 5 minutes to explain to the patient,
Yes.
but will you be able to explain it by like 9 bacteria, 7 bacteria, all of it?
Yes, I will be able to
Right?
explain.
That will make you a really good doctor. Okay, you know what? With a doctor that will actually take time to explain to the patient. Okay, then the patient will also feel good that my doctor actually thinks that I am also smart, that he respects me. Right? If you're a doctor and patient say, why do I have to take this drug even if after I feel better? And you say, you don't need to worry, it's too complicated for you, go out of the window, right? What will the patient think? Of course, the patient will take two things will happen. Okay, first thing, the patient will not like you. He will go out, and if some relative will ask you, like, tell me a good doctor for tonsillitis, he will definitely not say your name. Second thing is, he's not going to take the drug for 7 days because he already doesn't like you, right?
Yes.
And why would, if you don't like someone, are you going to follow the things that he will tell you?
No.
No, right? So the doctors have a very big responsibility in that case, right? So if you send the patient away with a bad attitude, he's not going to follow a prescription, and then he's going to not, his sore throat is going to come back, and guess whom he will blame? He will blame you yourself. He will say, this doctor gave me drug and he could not treat me, my infection came. He will go to the patient will go to all of his relatives and say, this doctor does not know anything. But yes, you gave the right drug. But what was your fault? Your fault was in the attitude and the counseling of the patient. That is most important. So many doctors, the reasons why people these days they hate doctors is doctors don't give enough time to the patients. Right? So the doctor knows which drug to give. Right? He has studied everything. Right? But he does not have good attitude with the patient. Even though the doctor will give the drug, correct drug, the patient will not take it properly. Will that cure the patient? No.
No.
That's why even people who studied everything, they know everything, they can't be good doctors. To be a good doctor, you need to know how to talk with patients as well. Right?
Yes.
That makes sense. So today, what did you guys learn? So we have only scratched the surface of microbiology. Is microbiology interesting?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is
Right,
interesting.
right. And is it important? What do you guys think?
Yes. I
It's
think
very
it is
important,
It's
right?
very important.
Very important. There's so many interesting things to study here. Like, and I've not even taught you about diagnosis and everything, right? But did you guys get a normal, like a basic overall concept of what do you need to study in microbiology, right? This is super important. So we discussed about cell wall. So in the next class, we'll discuss a lot. We quickly go over the cell wall is the most important structure, right? So in today's video, we discussed about basic structure of bacteria, everything about the cell wall, about gram positive and gram negative bacteria, right? About details of the structure, about how penicillin works, details about antimicrobial resistance, right? Details about how to prevent antimicrobial resistance, and some practical things as well that you actually need to understand as a medical student. Okay. So in the next class, we'll discuss the other structures of the bacterial cell wall. All right, and then we'll discuss other things like the mechanisms action of antibiotics, right? Mechanism action of resistance and everything. So that is it for today. I hope the session was helpful and it was understanding. You guys understood and it was interesting, right?
Yes.
So that is it for today. All right. Good, right? So keeping all these things in mind, right? Keeping all these things in mind, I came up with this whole Better Notes channel, YouTube channel. So apart from this YouTube channel which you are watching right now, I also have tuition. So I also give tuition. So if you're interested in tuitions, you can contact me. I also have a Telegram group where like almost 200 plus students from different medical colleges are already added in a couple of my Telegram groups where they can ask me questions or you can ask questions. I will try to help you guys in this Telegram group, or your friends might even help you. So it's like we have Telegram groups to discuss questions and like things you're struggling with in general. So make sure you join the Telegram group. And I have notes as well, the notes that I personally use for my own exam preparation, which a lot of my juniors absolutely love. Okay, thankfully they like it, right? So if you want these notes, apart from the notes, I also have clinical videos. This is upcoming, right? So hopefully I'm also planning with my friends to make some clinical videos within the hospital itself, so that you guys can have a little bit more help on the clinical side of things as well. So if you are interested in any of these, the tuitions, the notes, the Telegram groups, all of this, the link to all of it can be found in the comment section, right? So the first comment in the comment section, you can find the links to all of it. So make sure you check out the comment section.